Hi, my name is Alexander Gelman, and for my class project, I chose to do an analysis of a famous leader, and that famous leader is James Mattis. Some of you may remember James Mattis as the 26th Secretary of Defense under President Donald Trump, a post which he held for about 2 years, a little less than 2 years. I first learned about James Mattis when I was active duty Navy. By the time I was in, this was about 2012, he was already very famous. Everybody knew who he was. He was very much admired in the military. He has a he has a reputation. He has a reputation for really being compassionate towards his men. In fact, in the book I just showed right now, he mentions that caring about his subordinates is something that's very important, not just to him, but it should be important to all leaders. He does mention, however, that the main thing is mission first. The military is a very unique kind of job. Literally, nations rise and fall based on the effectiveness of their military. So the mission always has to come first. In that sense, in that unique sense, I would characterize James Mattis really as a coaching, an S2 style of leadership. He has both the supportive and the directive ideas in his head. He could also be classified as an S3, very much in favor of delegating and decentralizing authority. He knows he can't be everywhere at once. He knows there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to a campaign, and that speed is essential. So in order to achieve all those goals, he's very much in favor of training up his lower subordinates and then giving them a lot of independence and a lot of leeway. He mentioned it several times in his book. So he could also be characterized as an S3. He is definitely a transformational leader. He's very inspirational. As I said, he's very famous in the military community. Very inspirational, very challenging towards his subordinates, really drives them to be their best. This comes not just from that book, but from various sources that about his style of leadership. I thought it'd be an interesting story. This kind of speaks towards his supportive side. There's a very famous story, Christmas 1998. There's this Marine general who's driving around the posts, handing out cookies to all the Marines on post who can't be at home with their families. This general goes to the quarterdeck. He runs into the lance corporal who's standing his watch there, and he asks him, who's the officer of the day? Lance corporal answers, Brigadier General James Mattis. Obviously, that can't be the right answer because a general does not stand those watches. That's usually held by a junior officer. So he asks the question again, and he gets the same response. Sure enough, Brigadier General James Mattis shows up then, and the general sees that this is the true story. And the story behind that is that the officer that was supposed to be on watch has a family, and Mattis thought that officer should spend time with his family, especially since it was Christmas. James Mattis is famously a bachelor. He never married, never had children. His entire life is dedicated to the service of his country. And so he relieved the officer of his duty and took the duty on himself. A general filling a position for probably a lieutenant or something much lower on the food chain. And that really speaks to the type of person that James Mattis is. He, as I mentioned, he's also he's really mission oriented. He was he started off fighting. He joined in 1972. Served for about 44 years in the Marine Corps. He was involved in the first Gulf War. He was involved in the war in Afghanistan and in Iraq War. Just fighting battles and really doing what he could for this nation. So it was really a pleasure to reacquaint myself with a man that I greatly admire. and that I'm glad I got to do this report and share it with anyone who cares to read it. People who don't know who James Mattis is, like I said, former 26th Secretary of Defense for the United States, and he's still out there. By the way, it should be known that chaos, that's his call sign. It stands for Colonel has another outstanding solution. And that was kind of like a joke. It speaks to the way Mattis would give all this advice and kind of share his ideas of how to fix things. It was so they gave him that call sign. Anyways, James Mattis. That's who I did my analysis on, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.